us a little bit about your family. Do you have children, grandchildren? Just a little bit about
Okay,
Dr. Clark.
I have a daughter, a son. I have a son, he's the oldest, and that's Albert. And Joycelyn is my daughter. And both of them are chosen.
Okay.
God gave them to me.
All right.
And then I have a grandson,
Okay.
and I have, and that's Pokey, and he's gonna kill me that I call him Pokey. And I have two great grandchildren.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
and that is Alana and Jaden.
Okay.
And that is my family. And if anything that anyone wants to say about me, it was that I was a mother and I love being a mother.
All right. Well, we love you, so I can only imagine how you are as a mother, because I affectionately call you aunt,
Yes, indeed.
and you are like an auntie to me.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and I thank you for that. Today we celebrate your continued work as an author. Tell us about Discovery Reflective. What, when, and why did you create this series?
All right, let me tell you, I have traveled. I wanted to find out how black people, people of color lived. And I've gone to Ghana, I've gone to Senegal, I've gone to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Brazil, and the islands. And when I went to Kemet, which is Egypt, now the Kemetans said that Egypt was land of the blacks. But when the whites came in, they said Egypt is a black land. Now surely, black land and land of the blacks, so that it's like what a proverb that the Africans like to use. And the lion says, when the hunter tells your story, the hunter is the winner and the lion is the loser. So you better learn how to tell your story and not let others tell the story for you.
So that's what prompted you to create your series.
And the series was when we were at Tesla and we were working with the girls, the pregnant girls. One of our Barbara Onyela, and she was one of the volunteers, and she has helped us start going in with the African organization, and she would be there, and Barbara was going to tell them about Africa, and she said, we don't want to hear nothing about Africa. I ain't no African. I don't want to hear about it. And so I thought to myself, well, if they don't even acknowledge that coming from the mother country is important, then we're in deep trouble. And so I went to a meeting, and Dr. Margaret Burroughs read a poem. I said, Margaret, I have never heard you give that poem before. And she said, really? 4 days later, in the mail, and it says, I give Joyce Clark permission to use this in her book. Wow. And then she said, then now, Joyce, you can start writing your book. And I thought, well, I'll just wait on it. So when I went to Kemet, Egypt, and Asa Hilliard, a wonderful man, for 20 years he was taking folks to Egypt. And so I called and I said, Asa, I said, you know what? I said, I really want to have the girls, all the things I've learned from my trips and then from coming in the lectures that you've given us when we'd go. I said, now, which one of your books can I use to start with the girls? I said, because I used to teach my young people uh, history, their black history. I said, but now, Asa, what books can I use? And he said, I haven't written any books. And then I said, well, who has written any books? And then he did. I said, Asa. He said, you're gonna have to write the books. I'm gonna have to write the books. He said, yes, you are going to have to write the books. And so I thought to myself, okay, I will. And I said I went to Brazil, and when my buddy said, Joyce, you said you're going to be writing books. And I said, yeah, I am. And I said, I asked Asa about writing books. And he said, I'll tell you what, Joyce, why don't you write a table of content? And Andy Thompson said, why don't you write, before we leave Brazil, why don't you write a table of content of what you expect to do with the books? And then I started off and I showed it to him, and he said, I think you need to do a little more work on it. And then I did. I got my chapters together, and then I started writing. And then here I was going to show Asa. And my goddaughter, Reverend Gwendolyn Kirkland, called me from Egypt and said that Asa had died. And I told his wife, Asa died? And he told me to write the books, and I'm so mad he went and died, and he didn't even stay here to tell me whether I wrote these books right or not. And I said, but I know it must be, because I wrote the books. It tells about their history and culture. Then it tells about who they are as a person. Who am I? And then it tells who am I sexually, not sex, but sexually. And then who am I spiritually? And that's what these books are all about. And it's for, I thought, well, what am I going to do? Is it going to be for boys or girls? It's going to be for girls. And folks say, well, what about boys? I said, you have to find a black man who's written books for boys. I've written books for girls. And it's for book 1, grades 4, 5, and 6, book 2, 7, 8, and 9, book 3, 10, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
And so these books cover everything.
Great. And some of your books have been incorporated in some curriculums, haven't they?
Well, no.
No?
Let me tell you 2 things. In Florida, Dade County, I went and the board accepted my books. Then I came here to Chicago, and one of the charter schools, they bought books, and then when I went after, I guess, about 7 months, and I went to say, well, how is it doing? I haven't heard from you. How are you using the books? This principal, it was not the principal who was there to bought the books. This white principal said to me, I don't know anything about the books. I brought and showed the bill of sale and said, well, I don't know anything about it. One of the teachers who came to sign out he said, do you know anything about these books? She said, oh, yes. She said, the books, they were good and all. And it said, they don't know where the books are.